Good evening, Pretend Sports Nation. This is PSBN 1, orbiting your world at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I am Sike Manders, and with me, as always, is Maul Padeiros. Maul, how the heck are you?
I'm terrified. We continue to see this abnormal acceleration. Our orbit is getting slightly further away from Earth by the hour. But we still are here to bring you, our fair listener, some of the greatest pretend football analysis that there is. I'm happy to be here, Sike, and I'm happy to be doing this with you.
Absolutely. Maul, I did manage to get into the medical bay, and because I'm terrified beyond all capacity for rational thought, I am on a steady dose of painkillers, and what I do like about this is it's making me feel a little musical, and I think we discussed a little bit of a ditty before, so why don't I count us off and we'll get right to it,
yeah.
huh?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Double your pleasure, double your fed.
Double your fed.
With extra PSBN.
Oh, doesn't that make you feel better as we continue to scream around this earth, possibly towards our death?
Literally, we are the seraphim of angels looking for Jesus here in our Christmas morn. This is fantastic. I can't wait to see what's going on. What have you got going on in the medical bay, Mr. Manders?
Well, let me tell you, Maul, it's a special day today because we do have a double medical table all set up, but we're going to do them one at a time for everyone's sake. So, let me set the scene for you, because sunny Miami may not seem like the ideal setting for an invasion of the undead, but so it went as the Tombstones moaned and groaned, shuffling their way right up to Yoramee Showayu Stadium with victory in their undead brains. The dead men looked unstoppable. Completely unstoppable. Racking up a pair of back-to-back wins against the luckless 51ers, true, but also against the feared Cumberland crew. And the Uramies were still looking fresh from the drubbing of the Cincinnati Heartbreak. They were expected to put up stiff resistance despite Gage Laser's projections in favor of Pine Lake Park. Well, resist did the Uramies, led by Josh the Mustached Crusader Allen, scoring 22.9 points, 3 under his projected 25. And Chris Crackle Snap Godwin managed to put up 7.9 before his ACL went into the pain dimension and ended his season. Again, 1-800-MED-FUNG. The Uramies were just gutted by underproduction. A full 8 spots in the roster didn't earn for Coach Catherine. It must have left her feeling like an underappreciated mob boss. Now, the Tombstones didn't let that advantage slip up. The captain, Christian Kirk, scoring 19 points, and Travis Kelce's athletic ability, it surged to nuclear levels just before he was powerbombed through a coffee table after the game by COVID-19. The Dallas D was more than enough to hold back the Uramies' feeble attempts at offense, scoring 25 points out of 15. So what was the final score, you ask? Well, the Tombstones led 138.85 versus the Uramies 88.3. Looks like the dead men ride on as Miami convulses with Fed. Lockdowns are on the horizon, especially after being on the receiving end of blowout of the week. Ouch! That had to hurt, Maul.
Yeah, it's something to say. Coach Catherine had a great season, but all great seasons have to come to an end at one point or another. How about those Tombstones, the undead men, continue their ride? And now, we'll get to this a little bit later, but now the highest remaining seed in the playoffs.
Yes, certainly surprising, as I'm sure you're going to focus on in your matchup.
That is the truth. Sike, do you smell that? No, not that odious filth from South Sharpsville. I'll get to that later. The smell of the playoffs. The journey to a title started for one team and ended Fed-ridden for another. KG veteran Coach Shooter led his giggity clams down to the Bread and Butter Bowl to face off against Coach Cody and the Cumberland Crew Pickle Boys. The Gherkins came in strong favorites, and with all-world hybrid fantasy star Cordero Patterson, things seemed primed to take down the former champion. What's that? Patterson's been actively bad since Thanksgiving? Well, why would Cody play him then? What now? Jamar Chase, all-world rookie wideout? He's a non-factor too? It's fine. It's fine. Amari Cooper must have picked up the slack. No. His 1.8 was only the second worst stat line of the week. Woof. The former champs from Quahog seized their opportunity. Aaron Rodgers led all scorers with 26.5, and Debo knocked the pickles out. Samuel also added 16.9 more. No one else really stepped up, but no one crashed and burned either. In the end, the number 3 seed falls at home as Shooter's Giggity trounces the ever-living brine out of the crew, 114.8 to 79.45. Tough loss for rookie Coach Cody as he was flying very high to start the season. It's a lesson everyone has to learn at one point or another. It's not how you start, but it's how you finish. Enjoy the dose of Fed, Cody. Shooter, on the other hand, lives on and takes strides to take home another MAC trophy for his mantle. How about the veteran and the co-hogsman taking this big victory and sending Cody packing?
I will say, we did drag a little bit on Shooter's Giggity, but you can't count him out. Yeah, I am a man of my word. I will apologize to Coach Shooter for my hasty words.
Yeah, I mean, he's showing what he needs to do, and this was a big win. I mean, he was helped out by some chronic underperformance on the Gherkin side, but this was a win, and wins in the playoffs. You during the regular season, you can lose some bad games, but in the playoffs, you got to win them all. So Coach Cody, kicked to the curb. Good season for you, Cody, but nothing else to show for it. What else have you gotten in that medical bay? I hear there's another slab for us.
There is indeed, Maul. Here's some free hand sanitizer that you can use there. Excellent. And let's take a look. So the Knights of the Kings of Limbs visited Pink Taco Stadium to finish off the gasping old corpse of the Cooter Institute Beavers, only to find that the Beavers were ready to take the field. Undeterred, and honestly, why should he have been? Coach Kylan planned on his team's momentum to carry him up and over the luckless Cooter Institute Beavers. Or were they truly luckless? The Beavers showed life early on, led by Cooper Styrofoam Cup, scoring a massive 30.2 points. The Minnesota Vikings proved to be a regular Iron Curtain, putting up 25 for 10 points, and Sony the PlayStation Michelle put up 12.5. The Beavers, however, did begin to falter, and Kylan must have sensed that it was his time to strike. Call led the way with Tyreek No-Neck Hill putting up 26.8 points, and Mark Mailbox Head Andrews managed an even more impressive 30.6. It looked like Kylan was poised to run over Pegleg like a bad WWE segment when his own offense just ran out of gas. Letdowns all across the board would see the Beavers shave down that early lead bit by bit until it collapsed completely. It was a stunning defeat of the Knights of the King of Limbs, 119 to Cooter Institute's 121. The Beavers managed to slum guzzle their way to victory, leaving the Knights to ride away into the lands of Fed. Painful defeat there. Absolutely painful.
Yeah, devastating. And that's another former champion kicked to the curb. This might be a wake-up call to the rest of the NJCFFL. These low-seeded Cooter boys, Mike Cooter and Greg Cooter, managed to magoo their way into the playoffs to begin with. But now that they're there, all you can do is play the games that are in front of you, Coach. Kylan didn't have enough. The Swansons have all now been eliminated, and this is just a shocking turn of events.
Absolutely. Looking at what we have left in this wonderful playoff picture of ours, I mean, it could come down to Cooter versus Cooter.
Yeah, it certainly could. I mean, it's something that is very interesting. But first, we have to see exactly what went on in with that game with the South Sharpsville Gravy Legs.
Sure.
Now, there are some pretend matchups that are so hyped up that it seems impossible for the teams to live up to it. Case in point, the South Sharpsville Gravy Legs and Coach Mike Cooter travel to the Sac Dome to face the number 1 overall seed freaking Luxacs and Coach Adesso. Coach Dennis made some wild postseason moves this week, shouting, "Give me that D!" Wait, not that one, as he took on struggling David Johnson when he intended to add Duke. The Johnsons aside, the Sac were looking for some leadership and a calm presence with Tom Brady at the helm. Sure glad he didn't have a meltdown or anything. Looking every bit of his 87 years, Methuselah Brady could only muster 6.9 points. Also aboard the letdown train were C. Edward Hilaire and Donkey Kong Metcalf. Coach Adesso didn't even bother to play a defense, letting the 0 fester in the lineup. With all that misery, surely the poop-smeared Gravy Legs would take charge. But no, they also looked like a Cleveland steamer on the chest of Nacho Libre. Coach Cooter also decided to take a 0 from Jerry Judge Judy. Dalvin Cook was less than stellar, only scoring 10.1 of his projected 20. And T. Higgins and Devonta Smith were also non-factors. Thank this Poop Smith for Keaton Allen and Donta Foreman, who did just enough to keep hope alive. In the end, the Gravy Legs pull out the stinky miracle, knocking off the Luxacs in one of the lowest scoring games of the year, 83.05 to 63.5. Devastating loss for the Sacs, who now have to deal with a bout of Fed and a sack filled with what-ifs. Certainly doesn't help that Hunter Henry and the Colts defense were riding the pine and playing that sweet, sweet bench blues, combining for 45.7 points. Plenty to take the win. Sometimes your luck just runneth out. As for the G-Legs, they're getting hot and slimy at the right time. They continue to smear their way into the semifinals, only now 2 wins away from their first ever championship. It was a gross one there in the Sac Dome, but the Gravy Legs managed to pull it out and crushed a reeling Coach Adesso in this one.
When you're down in the poop mire and really you're just having an absolute stinker of a game, how could the Sharpsville Gravy Legs not win a contest like that? They thrive on that muck. It's what they live for. And we'll see if that continues to serve Coach Mike Cooter going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this was a big loss for the Luxacs. They were the number 1 overall seed. They talked a lot of trash, and I remember a couple of weeks ago he was discussing about being that number 1 seed and getting a bye. This is the reason that there were some changes and there was no buys. He wouldn't have had this matchup. He wouldn't have had to make that critical mistake in these lineup decisions if he had that bye. No such luck for the Luxacs. They end up on the outside looking in, and we are down to the final 4 teams in this pretend football season. Can you believe that, Sike?
I am stunned, speechless. I don't know if it's the teams that we have left or if it's the massive amount of mind-altering drugs that I'm on.
A little bit of both, I would imagine. The number 1, number 2, and number 3 seeds have all lost. That means that the highest remaining seed in these playoffs is the 9-5 Pine Lake Park Tombstones. They play at home against the South Sharpsville Gravy Legs. This one has all the markings of a real rot fest. What do you think on it?
Well, I mean, as far as looking, at who's coming up, who's going down, the Tombstones really do look like that they're the team to beat here. They've won, straight games. They've marched straight into the playoffs with a message that says, "Hey, we are just gonna run you over." How many games can South Sharpsville manage to just poop lubricate themselves through? Do you know what I mean? Eventually, that gravy train, that dirty, dirty gravy train, is gonna run
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it certainly seems that way. The projections are, Gage Laser is telling us that the Tombstones hold a slight edge, but this one could be a very high-scoring affair, and you never know what you're going to find, right? If the Tombstones, quite a number of Dallas Cowboys on that roster, if the Cowboys have a very bad game, all of a sudden the Tombstones could be staring up a hill that they can't get out from behind, let alone the fact that we're still dealing with COVID ravaging teams and making many, many, many players miss games. This could be very interesting. South Sharpsville has put themselves in this position where they have to. All they have to do is just win a couple more games and win that ever elusive championship for Coach Mike Cooter. But the Tombstones are my pick to win this game, as our Gage Laser tells us that is the way it should be.
Far be it from me to disagree with Gage. I definitely have the Tombstones picked in this one. We'll have to see how that COVID-19 loss of Travis Kelce does affect the Tombstones. They love him. They start him time and time and time again. He's a great producer. We'll see if maybe that is the piece that will doom them to the gravy lake. We shall see.
COVID has definitely wreaked some havoc, and in our other semi-final matchup, we've got two long-time NJC FFL veterans, Shooters Giggity, the number 6 overall seed. They are there in Quahog Memorial Stadium to host the Cooter Institute Beavers. Coach Greg, in a drunken stupor, has managed to put together a roster that, according to our analytics team, will score more points than any other team this week, aside from the Tombstones. That's pretty impressive stuff. Shooter, although at home, is looking up a pretty big hill.
Yeah, most certainly. His team has taken its share of injuries. Nothing extremely big that does jump out at me, but it really does look like the Cooter Institute Beavers are going to try to ride that momentum, just straight into the championship game. That being said, I counted Shooters out before. This is a game that I am not going to speak on. As far as it goes, it's a toss-up. Either side could come away with it.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I believe that there is definitely some opportunity here for Shooter to make some plays. He's already seen some amazing things happen on this season so far. At one point, he was the number 1 seed, and it came back down to earth a little bit. This is going to be a wild performance. The Beavers have taken a page out of the Coach Eric Menzies' book, playing every humanly possible Los Angeles Ram for their lineup. That could be bad. I mean, when you think about how COVID has kind of taken some teams right out of commission, they're just one outbreak away from seeing their entire season go up in smoke. I also am a little reticent to choose one of these two teams. I believe that Shooters Giggity has won games that they have no right to be in, and I don't trust Coach Greg Cooter and the amount of alcohol that he can consume on an hourly basis.
It is true. It's truly... It's beyond heroic sagas and more into the realm of just the unbelievable. But we'll see. I mean, sometimes those loose mental calculations lead to big wins. We'll see what happens. Yeah. That's going to be a head scratcher.
Yeah, I would have believed so, but we'll have to see. This has been an exciting year of pretend football, and believe it or not, we've only got 2 weeks left. And, that's going to be an amazing end to this pretend fantasy football year.
Absolutely, it will be. And we, of course, up here on PSBN 1, barring our imminent destruction, will be there until this transmitter just gives out. And so, from all of us here at PSBN and on PSBN 1, we wish you a happy holiday, and also wish to let you know that this was PSBN's flagship show, Pretend Football. Now, good night, everyone.